the speaker was great to show that there are different approaches to understanding how conflicts can be managed. It's not just the normal military, or it's not just that we can go and use our technical skills, that there's whole systematic approaches. We need to change our values to understanding. And I think that's kind of fits with the whole theme of the symposium. It's not just that the Holocaust happened 60, 70 years ago, that there's also things that happen today in the US, there's things that happen throughout this entire world, and that the better we can understand how us as humans are capable of these atrocities, but how we can also prevent them and learn from them is really great how the symposium has tackled that question.
I thought the symposium was a really great experience to get the community, some academic leaders and students together. I just got out of the talk by Jerry White, and one of the things that I found really interesting was his point about moving from a place of victimhood through a place of survivorship and into a place of leadership. And I think that's something really great that the whole community can learn, whether it's through conflict that's happening in your own backyard or happening with people, to conflicts that's happening abroad between states or between ethnic groups. And I think that point that he really drilled out was a really great one, that you move from that place of victimhood with the taking of resources and the taking of sympathy into a place of survivorhood, where you think, he says you have to face the facts and you have to choose life, and then you begin to give back to your community, and eventually you reach that place of leadership where what you're doing is trying to find a way for your whole community to transform through conflict, and get to a more peaceful place. So I think that was kind of one of the biggest takeaways from the symposium as a whole, was this great transformation that can happen through conflict to rebuild the community.
This evening's talk in the symposium by Jerry White was extremely empowering, because it shows a process where you can go from victimhood to leadership, and how important that is for world conflicts, and how we can diminish or even resolve world conflicts in a more efficient manner. And it's very exciting to see how the State Department is taking on this idea of conflict resolution in a much more global way, and using new innovative approaches that they have not really utilized before. And so I think that's a very important and, like I said, very inspiring. When I think of some of the other talks that I have heard and participated in, I think as a Hispanic Studies student, it's very important to relate what happened in the Holocaust and the Shoah with different historical events of oppression and genocides that have happened in Latin America. I mean, that's a big part of its history. But I think the talks gave me new ways of examining those conflicts and understanding that they have different circumstances, and the dynamics of the situations were each different. And so it's important to not just say, oh, it's like that, like this other event, but rather that each event is from a unique set of conditions, both socially, politically, and historically, and that we just have to look at things more individualistically rather than globally, even though they might relate to one another.
The speech right now from Jerry White I thought was a really wonderful opportunity to bring in sort of the governmental perspective, because we've been talking a lot over the symposiums of personal stories of recollection, non-governmental organizations, and then to also have the perspective of a sort of governmental official, I think was a really important way to round out this conversation about genocide, because it really affects everybody from a personal level all the way up to governmental level. And so I thought it was a really wonderful cap to the symposium. But there were other moments during the symposium that were more personal, and well, of course, Jerry's story of surviving a landmine attack is also. There's just so many inspirational individual stories along the way here for the last couple of days. It's been very inspirational.
I am incredibly pleased that PLU was able to host this conference. I'm the chair of Holocaust Studies here, the Kurt Mayer Chair, and we are now having 2 conferences this year because we've had 40 years of Holocaust Studies at PLU, so we're celebrating. And this particular conference over 2 days has brought 6 or 8 absolutely fantastic scholars to campus with a tremendous human commitment to the work they do and a tremendous skill. I particularly like Dagmar Herzog, who spoke about post-war traumatic stress among victims of the Holocaust, and what a hard fight it was to get doctors and psychiatrists to recognize that PTSD is real. And as she said, it actually took the Vietnam War before it got into the regular vocabulary of psychiatric and psychological help. There were also talks about, for example, the violence we do against Black Americans historically, from the lynchings and all the torture involved in the era of slavery and the Jim Crow era, to incarceration rates and all forms of systemic racism. Tonight we heard about the ways in which our State Department, interestingly enough, Jerry White, a tremendous activist, now working in the State Department, is talking with tremendous enthusiasm about what we as a nation can do to try to deal with massive violence in the world and work at peace building and justice activities. It was a great 2 days, and I'm really proud to have been a part of it. And thanks for filming this.
I thought this was a truly remarkable opportunity to listen to somebody so experienced as Mr. White, and I'm very happy that he's been brought into the government. His experience from the cluster munitions campaign, the landmine campaign, is I think very valuable in order to get things moving on other areas, prevention of conflict and to stop violence. And he spoke about how intra-state violence has been increasing, while interstate violence has been going down. And we have to address those problems, I think, from the perspective that he brought a very valuable perspective, talking about alignment, engaging, choosing to be active, and at the same time patient. So it was a very, very inspirational talk.